I think the Golden Order sealed off this land of shadow and turned it into the ultimate Evergaol. So I wonder if Messmer was convicted of some type of appalling crime at some point, which would explain why he was exiled to the Land of Shadow. We already know that Messmer is heavily associated with everything that's considered blasphemy to the Golden Order. He has blood-flame snakes, dragon communion eyes, godskin limbs. Essentially, he's Gwendolyn but butch. And if Messmer committed some type of appalling crime or blasphemy, it would also make sense that his name and image would be completely suppressed in the lands between. If this was done to punish Messmer, he wouldn't be alone. Remember, Marika literally shackled and imprisoned her own sons, Morgoth and his brother Moog, in the Lanedale sewers. Now, I got this idea from 2 interviews with Miyazaki. According to the man himself, the Land of Shadow technically occupies the same space as the lands between, the same universe. But due to something story-related that we won't reveal today, this has become physically disconnected, and you'll travel to the Shadow of the Erdtree land as a separate place. And in the base game, we can encounter something very similar, those odd pocket dimensions you can find inside an Evergaol. When we enter an Evergaol, we're still technically in the same space in the lands between, but now we're enclosed by shadowy walls. Even though there are almost a dozen Evergaols in the lands between, there isn't any written lore about them. So while we don't know who first invented them, we do know that the Caudians have mastered this type of magic. They have an Evergaol behind Collier Manor, on the Moonlight Altar, and another one in Limgrave that contains Darrowell. And EG does have the ability to seal Evergaols.
We live in Horny Jail, you can't send us there. We've got the keys.
And for what it's worth, the trailer seems to show a Caudian in the Land of Shadow. This is complete speculation on my part, but I wonder if this person may have sealed away the Land of Shadow, only to be locked inside the prison they helped build. In any case, after Radagon married Rennala, I think it's quite plausible that the Golden Order were able to get their hands on the magic behind Evergaols and build their own. We have the Golden Lineage Evergaol that houses Godfroy, Michaelzaki's Sanic OC, and in the Weeping Peninsula, an Evergaol holds an ancient hero of Zamor that somehow got his hands on Radagon's Scar Seal. There's a lot of fan theories right now about Messmer's potential role in the War of the Giants. And of course there's the Impaling Catacombs not too far away in the Weeping Peninsula, so some food for thought. Evergaols also contain 2 prisoners who know some of the Golden Order's deepest secrets. In Lyonia, we can find Adon, who stole the flame of the Fell God and found out that the Fell God isn't dead, he's resting. And in the mountaintops of the Giants, we can come across Vike, the Tarnished who came closest to becoming Elden Lord before he got fingered by the Frenzied Flame. That said, it's also quite possible that both men may have locked themselves inside the Evergaols. They are fire monks in Lyonia, while Vike is no longer frenzied in his Evergaol. In any case, the fact that those 2 are locked up would still prevent the Golden Order's secrets from spreading. We also know from Miyazaki, the Land of Shadow involves a civilization that existed before the Erdtree, and was heavily associated with the Crucible. So this civilization could have also been exiled as part of this Evergaol creation. And from the exiled set, we know that the lands between has exiled people to penal colonies. And this great post on Reddit also made the case that the banished knights themselves may actually be from the Land of Shadow. Now, in another interview with Miyazaki, he said that the veil we see throughout the trailer is a symbol of the Land of Shadow being removed and hidden away from the outside world. And the base game has quite a few symbolic veils. The most obvious one is the Mimic's Veil, also known as Marika's Mischief and Elden Ring's pause button. And in the Roundtable Hold, the Lost Grace we see seems to have a veil very similar to the veil over the Shadow Tree. I'll also point out that in the 1.0 version of the game, whenever you try to enter an Evergaol, you get a pop-up message that says, "The Erdtree refuses all." But while that message was patched out, to me this may suggest a link between the Erdtree and the shadowy Evergaols. Thanks to Birdo Please for pointing that out. Then there's the Concealing Veil, which completely conceals the wearer's presence, and was used by the Black Knife Assassins. This veil is also found in the Sage's Cave, which is absolutely packed with blasphemous items, including the Candletree shield, and a necromancer who's working on reviving the dead. If you're interested, I covered the Sage's Cave in more detail in my video on snails and their surprisingly sinister lore. A Concealing Veil is also part of the Black Knife armor, which tells us that the Black Knife assassins were rumored to be Newmen, who had close ties with Marika herself. And you find this armor right outside of the Ordina Evergaol. I'll also point out that since the entire liturgical town of Ordina is an Evergaol, this shows that Evergaols can get bigger in size, just give them some time. Plus, as all the heroes are dead pointed out on Reddit, this type of magic has also been used to conceal entire buildings. In the Altus Plateau, you can find the Mirage Rise, which is hidden and sealed away by rare Lucadian crests. This tower was so hidden, I didn't even do the Mirage puzzle until I did this video. And inside the tower, we can find the spells Hidden Blade and Hidden Self, which were used by Celian assassins, another connection to the Knight of the Black Knives. This is also speculation, but I wonder if the magic used for this tower was also used for all of the illusory walls we can find across the lands between. So to bring everything together, I think the magic used in the Evergaols and the magic behind the Mirage Rise were combined to seal away the Land of Shadow. Evergaols began as single jail cells to house prisoners in a sort of interdimensional solitary confinement, but over time, that magic was refined and further developed to encompass an entire town, and then finally an entire land. I'm also assuming that it's easier to create a single jail cell than a prison that spans an entire country. It's also interesting that in the trailer, when we see the Tarnished fight Messmer, to me it looks like it's an adapted version of an Evergaol, since there's a seal in the center of a stone circle. That said, the symbol inside of the center is different than the ones on the Evergaol. I also wonder if he committed some type of crime that was even worse than the Knight of the Black Knives. I'll close this video with a few observations and speculation that didn't really fit elsewhere in the video. In addition to the trailer, FromSoft released a couple screenshots, one of which had this glowworm, which is now everyone's best friend. To me, it reminds me of the sentry stones that surround the Evergaols, though the glowworms have a face and the stones only have a creepy eye. That said, I also wonder if the stones could be like an Iron Man suit for the glowworms, which could explain this discrepancy. In any case, I would love more lore about glowworms. There's also the prisoner's mask, which is used for prisoners convicted of appalling crimes. Now, if you take a closer look, the mask has a closed eye, which is the same eye that's closed for Messmer. We do know that heinous criminals have their eyes punished. Shabriri, for instance, had his eyes gouged out for slander. Thorn sorceries were first discovered by exiled criminals. I also love the idea that a character doing an emote as part of a promotional campaign could actually be hinting at deep lore, though I admit that's some pretty unhinged copium. Thank you so much for watching. I'd love to know what yins think, so let me know down below.